Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 2022 Road to Glory series here on the channel with this AlphaTauri team fresh off of a very unexpected top step of the podium visit in Imola, where we won the Imola GP by kind of being sneaky and pitting for the intermediate compound tire, which benefited us greatly heading into the end of that GP, and we were able to slice our way through the field and get to the top step of the podium there. So we've already checked off one major box of this Road to Glory journey here, but of course the next box that we got to try and check is just finishing this season by getting at least a top 4 or 5 in the constructors standings and get Pierre Gasly to the top step of the podium as well, hopefully here now, as he's been strong so far as well in the beginning of the season. Here was my qualifying attempt. This is my best lap. I crossed the line and only went P12, so it wasn't, the ideal qualifying starting position here in the Portuguese GP here in Portimao. We were about 0.6 of a second off of our teammate Pierre Gasly. He was starting P9. George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, they made up the front row, but we get into Portimao for the GP day here on Sunday, and look at the weather. It is not looking that great. It looks like Imola once again here now, as we're going to be dealing with some wet weather conditions, as it was 5 red lights and lights out when we were underway with George Russell, Lewis Hamilton up there on the front row, but it wasn't a good start for Lewis Hamilton. He was under attack from both the Red Bulls of Verstappen as well as Sergio Perez is in the background. You can see everybody scrapping it out, and you will notice some livery updates here now. So I re-downloaded the mod and it's gotten some new livery updates. Specifically, you'll notice the McLaren. You'll notice that Russell and Hamilton's numbers, they'll have the actual colors, like Russell has the blue 63 and Hamilton now has a yellow 44, but the McLaren's the biggest difference you will notice. You will notice the Haas as well looks a little bit different now, and they all look absolutely fantastic. And you can see right here, wheel to wheel, you got Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris side by side as you go into this double right-hander. This is where you don't want to be side by side now, and you can see though that's happening with Pierre Gasly as well. He's under attack from Ocon. He's got Alonso just behind him, and then here I am in the background just trying to work my way into this battle here, but unfortunately I had some work to do. You see Albon, you can see a Haas of Schumacher, and you can see myself now side by side with one of the Alfa Romeos of Valtteri Bottas, and actually we were able to get past Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin, who actually picked up some wing damage on this opening lap, so he was well off the pace as Russell continues to lead the way here in the Portuguese GP at the conclusion of this first and opening lap. Only 17 laps here, and it was supposed to dry up before this race comes to a conclusion, so we might have to pit twice. We might have to pit onto the intermediate compound tire, and then we'll have to potentially pit onto the dry compound here as we come through into turn 1 here, right on the back of Mick Schumacher in that Haas now. And I'm actually going to make a lunging move down the inside here into turn 3, and there we go, up a position over Schumacher there in the Haas now, as it was so cool to see the Haas team running so well in Bahrain IRL this past week, and I'm excited to see what they're able to do with both Schumacher and Magnussen going into Jeddah this weekend. Let me know where you guys think Haas will end up, and who do you think is going to win there? Is it going to be Leclerc again? Will it be Ferrari? Or will Verstappen and Perez at Red Bull turn it up? Or maybe Mercedes will come and steal the show out of nowhere here. As you can see though, at the end of lap 4, the conditions were improving drastically, and a bunch of drivers in front of me come into the pit lane, including myself here now, as we are going to head in and put on the intermediate compound tire. Gasly stayed out an extra lap along with actually a bunch of other drivers here, so it's going to be interesting. It won't make too much of a difference by undercutting onto the intermediate compound tire, but it should gain us a little bit of ground here, and unfortunately we've lost some ground on these opening laps, so we have to try and find a way, the best possible way to make up some time here and try and maybe pit a little bit earlier, just to try and kind of do what we did in Imola, which ended up actually getting us the win of that GP here. Now if we want to win this GP, we're going to need one of those other safety car curveballs once again like we had in Imola, and the odds of that happening pretty low. That was really just a perfect case, perfect timing scenario that we'll probably never see again throughout the rest of this series here, of these 16 episodes that we have in this series. But when we did do that undercut, it allowed me to get closer to Esteban Ocon as well as Alex Albon. A big lunge up the inside of Ocon. You see a bit of a lock up there on the right front, but we slide into the corner. We get the position, 13th place. We move up to there, a bit of a moment with oversteer now as we were trying to run down the Williams driver of Alex Albon in his return to Formula 1 here, as we're getting closer and closer to him as well. Williams looks so slow IRL here now, as you can see. A bit of oversteer on the exit here of turn 2, but right on the back of Alex Albon. And I knew it was just a matter of moments until we could do this right here. A lunge up the inside, a big lunge, actually Daniel Ricciardo dive bomb-esque, but we make it work, and up in the 12th place we go. Well, we run down Pierre Gasly. Unlikely, he was 6.8 seconds ahead, but actually at the end of lap 12, I noticed that Verstappen had come into the pit lane. I take the initiative. I could tell the track was improving in terms of the conditions, and I could really feel the intermediate starting to go away, so I decided to take a risk. I said, okay, let's come in, let's put on the dry tire, and then I saw Verstappen was still on the intermediate tire, so all of a sudden I said, oh no, I have made a mistake. So we put on the soft compound tire, and now we might have come into the pit lane too early. It's still raining here, but the track did dry, and the DRS was enabled moments later, and this would allow me to get to my teammate of Gasly, go around the outside into turn 1, into the top 10 we go, and now we're going to have a scrap here, wheel to wheel potentially, on our hands in a few moments time with Pierre Gasly. Now, as a bunch of drivers actually tried to stay out and whatnot on the intermediate compound tires up towards the front of their grid, but then they would eventually come in, and actually that costed George Russell the lead. Lewis Hamilton would cycle out to the lead of the GP was just 2 laps ago, and now we have had one heck of a rebound by pitting early onto the soft compound tire. Here comes Gasly out of nowhere. My inside kind of caught me off guard, so up in 8th place he goes, and I really didn't have anything for Pierre Gasly here now as we exit the final turn. Final lap underway here in Portimao. Carlos Sainz, the Spaniard, in the Ferrari just behind myself here as we have DRS, but I'm not going to try and engage in a fight with Gasly here down into turn 1, so I decided to just stay in behind him as we went down into turn 3, just kind of remaining in our position to at least make sure we can hold off Carlos Sainz in these closing moments of this GP. It was going to be, though, Lewis Hamilton leading on this final lap, and he would win the GP here in Portimao. Will he do that in real life? I don't know. Mercedes looks a little bit off, but they still aren't too far off. George Russell comes through to get the fastest lap point, but we're going to come through to cross the line with a nice rebound of 9th place here in Portimao. We've had good results in Bahrain and Imola, and a solid result here again in Portugal, and hopefully we can continue that on throughout the rest of the series. They actually even get driver of the day by only gaining like 5 positions there, so you can see how little positions some drivers were actually able to gain in this Portuguese GP for this F1 2022 Road to Glory series. But as well, what this race specifically indicated to me was we obviously still need to make some improvements in terms of the R&D tree. So at the conclusion of this episode, we need to go into the R&D and try to make some more upgrades here. And actually, I can tell you right now, we have a lot of upgrades on the way. Before we end the episode here, you will see exactly how many we have coming there, as you see Hamilton, as well as George Russell and Sergio Perez, your top 3. Verstappen had his issues, was not quite on the podium there, as he's at a rough start to this Road to Glory series. We'll see if he can maybe pick it back up going into these next few episodes. Now, as you can see, the actual finishing order on your screen, Verstappen ended up all the way down in 14th place. Not what he was looking for whatsoever, and he's only got, I think, 8 points on the season so far. So the defending champion has a lot of work to do, 40 points below. So it's not the end of the world for Verstappen there in that Red Bull, but we'll see what he's going to be able to do in these coming episodes. Now, as you can see, we're second in the constructors, tied with McLaren, but we're 40 points behind Mercedes. What a gap that is for only 3 races in here now, as we're going to have to change out some engine parts. And like I said, I would dive in and I would start making some big upgrades here in the R&D, because we've had some resource points that we can spend here, and that win in Imola and just the R&D gain with the points has really benefited us now, and we're going to use those to the magnitudes that we can. And you can see in just a moment just how many upgrades on the left side of the screen that we have coming. There is legitimately a lot of upgrades on the way. As always, though, if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. That does it for me here in the Portuguese GP episode of this F1 2022 Road to Glory series. So I will see you guys in the next one, where hopefully we can continue the strong season in Monaco. Have a great day, everybody.